Hello there, welcome back to the booth here at Pro Tour Guilds of Ravnica. That's Eduardo Sachalik. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe. Thanks so much for coming along. Boy, we got a nice one in the feature match area here. I got a little piece of paper that tells us the matchups, and I thought, ooh, that looks nice. So, Luis Scott-Vargas, may have heard of him, 7-2, playing for Team ChannelFireball. He's playing against Sam Black. He's playing for Team Greater Good. They're both at 7-2, and they've both got kind of blue-based control-ish decks. So
they're both trying to outvalue each other.
Exactly.
That's where we're at.
That's what's going to happen, and we get a chance to watch it right now. Let's head down. It's time for round number 10 here from Atlanta. Hello and welcome back to coverage here at Pro Tour Guilds of Ravnica. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Eduardo Sachalik, and we are all set for round number 10. This is our second round of booster draft of the day. In the feature match area, two Titans. Luis Scott-Vargas, playing for Team ChannelFireball, comes in at 7-2, and he has a nice Dimir deck. I actually got a chance to thumb through this when I was chatting with him in between rounds, and it looks really good. And having looked at the list from his opponent, Sam Black from Team Greater Good, also at 7-2, well, they're both on the same game plan. Now, they're playing two different guilds, but they're both kind of the mentality of getting their value on here, Eduardo.
Yeah, for sure. Luis is on a straight-up blue-black deck, while Sam is a little more liberal with his choice of colors.
A little more liberal is one way to put it. Sam is playing a whole bunch of Guild Gates in his deck. He's got 4 Boros Guild Gate, 3 Izzet Guild Gate for a grand total of 7 Guild Gates. And we're going to see a very good answer to the House Guild Mage that Luis played on turn 2. He's got a couple of those in his list. That is Direct Current to snap that off. And then Land Go from Luis.
Yeah, and Direct Current is a really good card against these Dimir decks. There's tons of X2 creatures, Whisper Agent, House Guild Mage. So I really like, a really key card in this matchup.
Mm-hmm. By the way, Sam played his land and passed the turn back on end step. That was Whisper Agent from Scott-Vargas. He decided to put Dazzling Lights in the graveyard and has now attacked for 3 with the Whisper Agent, perhaps just pressuring Sam's life total enough to make him fire off Direct Current on it at some point, and that's exactly what's going to happen here. Land goes away, and Sam says, well, he's just going to keep hitting me with this stupid thing, and I got to do something. And then Luis says, gotcha. Got another Whisper Agent at the ready, and he, in fact, surveilled to the top of the library here as well. So good news for Luis Scott-Vargas, and bang, the unkillable threat. Dowser of Lights, the 4/5 with, well, that's a lot of flavor text, but no other rules text beyond that, but the card's proven worthy of respect, and you can see that here from Sam Black. He fires off Luminous Bonds on the Dowser, but he keeps on taking hits now from the Whisper Agent. That's another 3 damage, and one of Luis's lower power cards joins it. He's got the Child of Night.
I want to take a little moment, though, to highlight how that Sam prioritizes bonds over the City Watch thing. Basically prioritizing his own life total over developing the board.
So you're saying last turn he had a choice between playing City Watch Sphinx or playing Luminous Bonds on Dowser, and he took the latter line.
Exactly.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. Essentially going, look, I'm gonna want to shut down this Dowser anyway, but then draws Color the Culprit. Not so great on this board, but the City Watch Sphinx, Luis only having a deadweight. Luis has the option to deadweight the Sphinx and then attack in for damage, but decided to be more patient here. And there's the highlight of Sam Black's deck. 2 copies of good old Garrison Sergeant.
That is one of the highlights, as you mentioned, of his deck. That's part of the payoffs for him playing 7 gates in his deck, trying to finish the game that way. And it looks like it's going to earn double deadweight here from Luis, so that's going to clear the way for an attack for 5 plus 2 life gain for Scott-Vargas, and he even gets to keep the pressure up, perhaps encouraging that City Watch Sphinx to stay home by playing Bartizan Bats. That was one of the last cards to make the cut for Luis, but he realized that he may have gone a little too close to the sun on the value tip because he doesn't have a ton of power in the deck, and that's why he included it.
By the way, this was a really close turn for Luis. Luis passed, but that was actually a really close turn.
Get him to 1.
Yeah, and then like attack with 2 creatures, but Luis going, on odds, Sam is going to maybe draw another creature,
Right.
and it's going to be hard.
So-
it didn't look like much there.
Yeah, he just
but that
found-
was actually really important, an important decision there.
Luis just found one of his copies of Artful Takedown. He's got a couple of them. And it looks like he's going to go for kind of an interesting line, letting Sam block and then perhaps going for the win next turn. Ooh, what does he have here?
Gruesome Menagerie.
Oh, Gruesome Menagerie is what he's got because he says,
But Sinister Sabotage from Sam Black.
Okay.
And now Sam
But
needs
still,
a creature.
this is that line that you talked about a second ago, though, Eduardo. Attack with all, get you to one, and then attack with both. So there needs to be something here from Sam Black. And he's found actually something quite good. He's found an Ornery Goblin, which is going to hold back the Child of Night quite well.
Yeah, it's going to hold it back quite well. And yeah, this is a locket. This is quite a nice sequence. If draw another creature. I like the sequence from Sam. So even at 1 life, by adding 2 blockers, this is going to give Sam Black a chance against Luis's Onslaught. But as you mentioned, the possibility of an Artful Takedown here.
Yeah, I think that's what I saw in his hand, but I might be wrong. Maybe I saw the Gruesome Menagerie and just had it mistaken there, because I don't think Luis has anything else going on in hand at this point.
But there are 2 Artful Takedowns in the deck, so if Luis draws any of them, that's going to kind of do it. The Deadly Visit here, might as well get rid of that City Watch Sphinx and try to surveil into an Artful Takedown and improve the draws. Top. That's going to be very important.
Right. Now Sam Black gets to do his Surveil too, and he went top as well, at least with one of the 2 cards. What was it for Black? It was a Muse Drake. He's got so much mana, he figures, well, it's basically free here to just get another blocker on the battlefield and still have another shot at a fresh card.
Yeah, blocker plus draw a card is really what Sam Black was trying to do here.
I want to know what Luis put on top of his library now.
I'm pretty sure we're gonna find out.
Yeah, and I did check. He's got 2 swamps in hand, so he is going to need to find something if he's going to get the job done here.
Oh, this is quite a frisky attack here. Sam's at 1. I mean, Artful Takedown is one of the... Sam is playing around 1 removal spell, but not 2.
But not Artful Takedown.
Night
Okay, it
Veil
was
Sprite, though.
Night Veil Sprite, but as we know, that is also not just a way to massage the top of the library. It's also a lethal threat here.
Yeah.
Sam's going to play Radical Idea, finds a land with it, which is kind of what Radical Idea does. And that was a Capture Sphere off the top of the library, Eduardo.
I like the Capture Sphere. I think here, it's really still a very close game. Luis, with Sam on 1 life, a single card could turn the tide. The Capture Sphere here going to be quite nice. It could shut down this Night Veil Sprite, but the truth is, because again, it can attack into Muse Drake.
Mm-hmm.
But I think here, Sam, it's very close. Sam is close to being advantaged, but at 1 life, the right top decks from Luis Scott-Vargas are going to allow him to take over the games. It's not that Sam has full control of the game yet. A counter spell plus a removal spell will probably allow Sam to avoid a lot of top decks, but Luis is still very much in this game with Sam at 1 life. Drawing a land here, though, I think is going to give that breathing room for Sam to be ahead.
That's right, and Luis is not going to get to take advantage of the Night Veil Sprite, even if it was just going to get blocked anyway. It is going to earn a Capture Sphere. Heck, anything that could possibly get through is Capture Sphereable at this point, especially one that does that. Now, that was Disdainful Stroke off the top of the library for Sam. You mentioned him finding a counterspell. Wasn't the perfect one, but that does cover a lot of the outs that Luis has here, including Artful Takedown.
Yeah, and that's the big one, right? Artful Takedown, one of the few cards in Luis's deck to get rid of 2 creatures at once.
Ooh, he finds one of his best cards, perhaps the best card in his deck, Thief of Sanity, but it currently can't get through.
Yeah, so for now, I think Sam still has the advantage, but with Thief of Sanity in play, it gets really close. I mean, to be fair,
It's just lethal anyway.
Yeah. But adding a body, this is how close this game still is, right? If Sam was at, let's say, 5, then this game wouldn't be close. Sam would essentially win. But a single attack being able to kill Sam is dangerous. Although Sam is still ahead.
He also found Unexplained Disappearance, which could set back Luis even further. Yep. There's Darkblade Agent off the top of the library for Luis.
And that's, the 4th creature. Mm-hmm. Wishcoin Crab.
Yep. The brick wall.
Yeah, looking at Sam Black's hand, we see Unexplained Disappearance, this Disdainful Stroke, Wishcoin Crab, Call of the Culprit.
Wow.
Yeah, I think the way Sam is playing, Sam is likely to take down this game. just because being able to counter an Artful Takedown. I think once Luis runs a spell into the Disdainful Stroke, Luis will be able to come back a bit, and that was the Artful Takedown.
That was the Artful Takedown off of the top of the library for Luis, and he may just go for it here. But as you mentioned, that is going to earn a Disdainful Stroke from Sam Black, but then he has live outs after that.
Yeah, it's really close, and that's why Sam is going to be advantaged, but not as much as earlier, just because of this Disdainful Stroke no longer being in Sam's hand. So Luis could draw the second Artful Takedown at this point.
Yeah, now the hard part, though, for Luis is that Sam's proactive attacks with that Ornery Goblin have really added up over the course of this game. He's got Luis down to 9, and with Sam holding Unexplained Disappearance, he could even keep an evasive lethal attacker at bay for an extra turn, and that might be all he needs.
Yeah, and drawing Wee Dragonauts. That said, now with Artful Takedown, yeah, an Artful Takedown would get rid of the 2 flyers, but as you mentioned, that Unexplained Disappearance, you get to bounce the one flying attacker that Luis has access to. Is that a Deadly Visit?
I think it's, yes, Deadly Visit. That's exactly what it is, and this one, well, it might resolve. Sam Black could choose to use Unexplained Disappearance to save his Wee Dragonauts and prevent the Surveil 2, and that's exactly what he's going to do.
Yeah. And
ooh, that Muse Drake is just holding things on.
By the way, I love the interaction of bidding the Radical Idea. There's almost no... I mean, there is some value with the Minotaur in play to use that idea. Actually, that would have been a lot. If Luis was at maybe 2 less life, that might have been good enough. Just Radical Idea, and that is the largest flyer you're going to see, and that's going to
gargoyle, yeah,
and that's going to make the difference. There was a turn there for Luis to maybe draw an Artful Takedown with that Disappearance gone, the Disdainful Stroke gone, but with Gargoyle, that's no longer really the case. The Gargoyle plus the 2 other flyers, and with Luis having only 1 flyer on his side of the battlefield, is not going to be able to use this Artful Takedown to good effect.
There we go. Flyer number 1. Land. Flyer number 2. And now Artful Takedown, even on its own, just isn't enough.
Yeah, and Luis needs to draw something to survive, and the land is not going to do it.
Right. This one looked very good for Luis Scott-Vargas early, but Sam was very patient, and I really appreciate that he enacted that game plan early with the Ornery Goblin. It ended up getting in for, 12 damage or something like that, and that could make the difference down the stretch. If he was a little shy about that, it might not have been the case, and now he's put himself in a position to perhaps go for the win, and he's just locked it up with that. He found Sinister Sabotage off the top, and Luis, well, let's be honest, he flooded out, right? I mean, He just drew a few too many lands in the middle part of the game, and wasn't quite able to find what he needed, and that's going to do it. Sam Black wins game number 1 with an impressive come-from-behind victory. I mean, it was, 19-1, 17-1 at some point in that game, and Sam was kind of hanging on for dear life, but he was able to just craft a game plan to get the job done against Luis Scott-Vargas. Our 2 players at 7-2 and looking to stay that way here in our draft. We've got 2 good blue-based decks in the hands of 2 of the game's best, and we get a chance to watch the rest of this match. We're going to take a short commercial break. When we come back, we'll have more live magic from Atlanta. Don't go anywhere.
Countdown, tick, tick, tock. About time we set things up. Here we go, here we go. Get ready for the fight. Here we go, here we go. He's coming. He's coming.
And welcome back to the feature match area here in Atlanta, Georgia. We are in round 2 of our booster draft here on day number 2. And we've got 2 fantastic players in the feature match area. Luis Scott-Vargas and Sam Black are facing off. They tested together for this tournament, so they certainly know how each other approach the format, even if there is some slight differences in the way that they do so. Sam Black really looks like he kind of has the upper hand here with all these counter spells and such, even though Luis does have, as you would expect, a value-filled deck on his side as well.
Yeah, and I think here the thing that's really going to change things for games 2 and 3 is that neither player really has too much of a sideboard, right? There's not many cards that they can bring in. So Child of Night versus 2 Ordinary Goblins, as well as 2 Muse Drakes, that's not really where Luis wants to be. But this Darkblade Agent, that's a little more where Luis wants to be with 3 Whisper Agents. If that Darkblade Agent can start dealing damage, that might put Luis ahead.
Luis also has many, many ways to trigger Surveil, and I think we may see one right here with a main phase Whisper or a combat phase Whisper Agent. No, he's not going to do that.
Okay.
Wouldn't have been surprised to see him do that here.
Yeah, decides to, I guess, pass the turn here. I'm wondering, because I believe there was a Whisper Agent in the hand, and decides to flash it at end of turn. I would be curious as to the line here. Probably had an instant to...
I'm surprised. Usually if you say, Luis, hey, do you want to draw a card? He'll be like, yeah, I'll do that.
Yes, please. Maybe... actually...
Just didn't want to run into
Sinister Sabotage. I think that's what happened, yeah. Luis basically went... Sam did nothing this turn, and I think I'm far ahead with this Deadly Visit and damage, and went... Like, I would draw a card if the matchup was anywhere near close, but Luis probably felt quite favored here and decided to have the Whisper Agent not get countered by a Sinister Sabotage, and that ended up being correct. Sam has the Sinister Sabotage in hand.
Yeah, so a good read from Luis. Another benefit it gives him is that if Sam has an untapped red source, he could use Direct Current to kill the Whisper Agent, and this way he gets protected where he gets in for more damage. So some subtle plays here happening, but really interesting stuff. And in the meantime, Dead Weight is going to hit a Goblin Electromancer, or is it? No. Sinister Sabotage, and Luis goes, I knew you had it. Good read.
That was a really...
Yeah, super high-level stuff. The obvious play just being no blocks. Okay, cool. I'll flash in my Whisper Agent and try to draw an extra card. And, sometimes that is worth the risk, even if you have identified it. But Luis, again, looking at the board and saying, I'm far enough ahead here.
Yeah, and then you get to slam the Deadly Visit, because if Sam doesn't play a creature, you're dealing a lot of damage. So, yeah, that's it.
Oh, did you blink? I'm sorry. That game ended.
They are very fast players.
Wins the game, and we're all tied up at 1 game apiece. And Luis says, yeah, that's how I drew it up a little bit.
Yeah, that was really... I think that was the play of that game for sure. The Whisper Agent on Sam's turn after the Muse Drake. It sounds weird to say Luis played a flash creature during their opponent's turn, right? Like, that sounds normal. But with the Darkblade Agent, it was not a simple decision. Luis going, you know what? Just having this 3-2 in play, then killing whatever Sam plays is going to be super large, really big here. But yeah, I was really... That was like... It was a really quick game of Magic, and there weren't an infinite amount of decisions. Mm-hmm. But just that one decision, it reminds me a bit of that Seth Kai style decision yesterday, like stuff you only think about like when you get into these high-level situations.
All right, let's take a look at Guillaume Wafotapa versus Reed Duke on our back table there on a little live look-in action. These players are in their second game. Reed Duke won game number 1. By the way, these guys are at the same record as our main table. They're both 7-2.
Sorry, I have to start laughing.
Wait, what did you find, Eduardo?
I just looked at Wafotapa's list. It's free Wall of Mist, 2 Devious Cover-Up. Yesterday at Niv Visit, Wafotapa just can't not play control. It's not his DNA to not play a control.
Yeah, you are correct about that. He comes to the Pro Tour to play control. Look at his sleeves. I mean, he's just...
the message is sent.
Yeah.
Waffle Top, one of the best control players of all time.
Yeah.
Even in limited, just
Hey,
has to go, look.
If you were that good at control, you would play it in all formats too, right? Like
Every single one. I think that was a point that Javier made, that there's no such thing as format. And once you have that approach, then you're right. Waffle Tapa just plays control. That's just the name of the game.
Yeah, he did say that, but
Yeah.
all right.
But yeah, here. Anyway, Reed is a little more versatile, I'd say. Here with that, normally an Overgrown Tomb fan, but more than willing to sign up to the Boros Legion for a draft with that fresh-faced recruit and Wojciech Bodyguard, a very strong 1-2 punch. And
Especially here, no blocks with that Veiled Shade, or no good blocks, I should say. So Reed has the green light to send in the team and start piling in for a huge amount of damage. It looks like he drew Conclave Tribunal and is actually considering his pre-combat options here on maybe even using it. Probably not would be my guess, but yeah, and look at this. He has another even better option. He's got the Robobelt Boar, and that's going to get in for an additional 2 damage, and there's still no good blocks for the Veiled Shade. And, when I play these Boros decks, my entire goal is just to get that first Mentor trigger and get that counter on, because once you do, it feels like it snowballs. And even here, boom, he has 9 power, like 9 power go. And Guillaume Wafotapa just feels like he's way far behind now.
Yeah, I mean, the pumping a whole turn into the Veiled Shade to make it a 4/4 still means that Guillaume would either have to chump with the Darkblade Agent or take an additional 6 damage. And Reed more than likely will have ways to push through damage here. So with Reed winning game 1, and then the way this game is progressing, it's going to be hard for Wafotapa, I think, to come back here. Yeah, especially the Sky Knight Legionnaire. I think I saw Devious cover up in Wafotapa's hand, but that would mean tapping out. And then you have a 2/2 and a 2/3 against the board that Reed is presenting. So yeah, this is maybe a necessary counterspell, but now Reed going to be able to jam in a bunch of damage. I think even having Integrity Intervention in hand, just ready to push through that damage. Yeah, this is going to be a huge attack from Reed, and I don't know how Guillaume is really going to be able to come back. Ironically, a Wall of Mist would have helped.
Yeah,
it just
it
didn't
actually
come
would have
down
been fine.
early enough.
But he couldn't find his critical Wall of Mist somehow. So instead, Reed Duke just gets to run rampant on this board state, and Guillaume Wafotapa finds himself very much on his heels. Let's stick with this game for another minute or two, because it might be over that quickly unless Guillaume can come up with something pretty big to swing this board state back in his favor. And look at this integrity now for Reed Duke. On the easy mode, just using it as a pump spell, but it's all he needed there to gather a 2-for-1. And now Guillaume Wafotapa at a critical 4 life. He's on life support here, and it doesn't look good. Okay, this is one of the cards that can actually get you back. Snuggle Beast, we call it. Affectionate Indrik gives him a big blocker and takes out an attacker on the other side, but it is going to take so little for Reed, and there it is. That is the game, and in fact, the match going to Reed Duke. So something forming there. Reed Duke is now 8-2 in the tournament and looking to finish strong in the booster draft portion before returning back to standard. That means, of course, that we get to go back up to our front table where we have Luis Scott-Vargas having evened things up in a blistering game 2 against Sam Black. And let's see how things go in game number 3. Sam down to 1 life in game 1, but he stabilized and came all the way back to kill Luis from 19 and get the job done. And let's see what happens here.
Yeah, Luis, oh, wow. The biggest play of the game happened before it even started. Did he spot it, Marshall?
No, I didn't see it. What did I miss?
Luis won the last game, right?
Yeah. Oh, is he on the play?
He's on the play. Sam Black deciding to draw.
Wow, this could really backfire on him here, because he's now facing down Night Veil Sprite that already got to attack once and clear land off the top of the library. He better have an answer for it.
Yeah, Sam deciding to go for the value play, so to speak, getting that extra card. But Night Veil Sprite, one of the more powerful 2-drops, and without a direct current for Sam Black here, this might spell trouble.
And the value's flowing here from that Night Veil Sprite. That is now 2 lands cleared off the top. By the way, chat's saying that in game 2 that Luis decided to draw as well, but we didn't catch that the beginning of the game there.
Fair enough.
Interesting stuff. Both players really, we said it coming in. You said they're going to try to outvalue each other, and it sounds like they've taken that to all phases of the game here.
Yeah, just the fullest value.
Is it Lockett is the first meaningful play of the game from Sam Black, and that means he's way behind on board here. Though that being said, Luis has only assembled 3 power thus far. Didn't do much last turn, but finally keeps a card on top with a Surveil from the Night Veil Sprite. What does he have here? That's the question. Nothing. He's just going to pass the turn back to Sam.
Yeah, it seems like Luis has in hand that dispersal side of Discovery, essentially being able to bounce Sam's largest permanent. This
There it is.
crab is good.
The brick wall, and that's going to get sent right back to hand here. That is dispersal, but Sam Black has Disdainful Stroke at the ready, so he's going to counter it. Now the question is, does Luis have another answer for the Witchcoin Crab? Because if he does, the damage is going to keep flowing, and he does.
Yeah.
Deadly Visit from Luis Scott-Vargas. He's got a couple of those, and another 2 lands hit the graveyard. And I'm telling you, in game 1, he was so far ahead, and the reason he lost, or at least one of them, was because he drew a few too many lands in the middle part of the game. This game, he's cleared away, 3-4 lands off the top of the library already.
Yeah. By the way, I love the sideboard card that Sam Black just drew, Ledev Guardian. Just basically Witchcoin Crab Jr.
Baby Witchcoin Crab for Sam Black. Oh, this is some high-level stuff from our players. I love watching this.
Yeah, splashing baby crab.
Oh, so good.
Yeah. It turns out that this Child of Night shouldn't be as good as it was because Sam has 2 Muse Drakes and 2 Goblins. But wow, Luis put so much pressure.
Yeah, this was kind of the culmination of all of that surveilling that he done, able to fill up his hand with a lot of action and end things with a Bartisan Bats and a House Guildmage. I'll tell you what, Sam Black would love to see here, although it looks like he's tapping a lot of mana, so he doesn't have it. There's a City Watch Sphinx. I was going to say Direct Current.
Oh, yeah.
That would have been pretty brutal.
Yeah, but here the City's Watch. Oh, wow. Is that
this
an
is
artful
takedown as
What a
well.
draw from Luis Scott-Vargas.
Yeah, and Sam says, I'm going to do it for you. But this is interesting because Luis is really considering what he wants to kill and what he wants to tap. And he's going to leave the City Watch Sphinx on the battlefield saying, I don't want you to get the Surveil.
Yeah.
In comes the team.
Yeah, basically the City Watch Sphinx is the same as Guardian, a 4 toughness blocker. And Luis has access to Unexplained Disappearance in hand, so that is going to essentially spell doom. That Direct Current 1 turn too late, most likely. Here.
He actually drew it? Oh,
Yeah.
man, last turn it would have been so good. It wouldn't have fallen prey to a card like Artful Takedown. You know, just take away your threats and your Artful Takedown isn't nearly as good. But the question is it just too late for Sam Black now? And it does seem to be the case. He's down to 1 life.
Down to 1. The Direct Current would have been a perfect pickup earlier. Unfortunately, a turn too late. And here...
Yeah, if he goes for it, he's only got 2 mana left over. There's 2 lethal threats on the other side of the battlefield. And Luis has Unexplained Disappearance to bounce it back to his hand. And Sam Black untaps and scoops up his permanents. Luis Scott-Vargas is 8-2. Here, Pro Tour Guilds of Ravnica, perhaps putting together a little run. He did say he had the fire. He mentioned that in passing, not forcibly and not a million times on Twitter. Just it was a
He's hoping for a
side
tweet
comment.
to age well, right? That's what I heard.
He did. He did do that. He's trying all the tricks he can. I'm waiting for him to do the Andre Strosky and announce his retirement and then just win the next tournament that he plays. And
So he'll do it before like the next.
yeah, it's too late to pull that trick out here. He would have had to do that before the tournament started. But
Yeah.
all right, so Luis Scott-Vargas 8-2, but never fear for Sam Black fans. He is still at a respectable 8-3. Now he does need to really buckle down. 7-3 and get things rolling. But he's not out of contention yet as far as top 8 is considered.
No. Essentially, you can still top 8 with a 12-3-1 record, but Sam essentially has to run perfect and finish the 6 next matches undefeated to make top 8. Still good. A lot of good finishes are available.
See, the chat noticed that the players didn't shake hands after. Luis actually has a cold. And even though he purposely walked up to Paul Cheon just to breathe on him earlier, he doesn't necessarily treat everybody like that. So, and rest assured, Sam Black and Luis are friends. There's nothing in between. Well, how fast can we get that advantage bar over? 1 land for Lucas Blahan and Shuhei Nakamura. Ooh, all right, there's land number 2. Shuhei somehow with no board state, although Underrealm Lich is his first play. of the game outside of killing a healer's hawk, and this one is going to take over very, very quickly if Lucas can't start deploying some major threats and quickly.
Yeah, demotion. Demotion's kind of a semi-nice answer to it. Then Shuhei can't pay 4 life to make it indestructible or block with it. But the problem this turn is Lucas can't really put much pressure. There's a ton of free drops, so yeah, that's why you see this kind of Legionnaire here. Yeah, by the way, the handshake thing, that's why I like the fist bump.
Oh, you're the fist bump? Here, give me one right now. Pound.
Perfect.
There we go.
But like if you're sick, the fist bump doesn't transmit the siege.
Have you ever seen people do the elbow?
The elbow works too.
That just seems like a lot of work to me.
That's fair. Yeah.
Also, don't get too close to me with my elbows, man. I'll get you. Play basketball.
Believe you, Marshall. I believe you.
So land number 3 does hit the battlefield here for Lucas Blahan, and he uses it to make a Sky Knight Legionnaire. But the problem is that Shuhei is just so far ahead on mana that he's just went 5-drop into 6-drop, and his creatures are just going to outclass what Lucas Blahan is doing. Although I will say, when we came here, Lucas was only on 1 land, and he just went land off the top, so we may have a game after all.
Yeah, but unfortunately, being 3 lands behind is quite a drawback.
It is indeed.
You're giving your opponent the equivalent of a double or triple rampant growth, especially this Lich, like just powering out these huge undergrowth creatures. I mean,
What is this, Undercity Uprising for Shuhei? What does he have? Oh, that's an Okran Assassin. Okay.
He
actually
does have the uprising.
have the Uprising as well, and a Rhizome Lurcher. That's going to be big.
Yeah,
right now he has 4 creatures in his yard, at least 3.
So it's going to be a good old 6/6 plus the 1/1 Death Touch creature that's going to force Lucas into a bad block. I just don't see a way.
Too far behind.
Yeah, I think this is too far. Lucas would probably have had an edge, if the second, third, and fourth land drop weren't missed. Yeah, I mean there's a land.
Yeah.
There's an intrusive pack beast, so this can be 4 damage, but that's not going to be enough. Shuhei, just these huge, gigantic creatures. I mean, if you give a deck a double rampant growth, that's what happens.
And that's going to do it. So Shuhei Nakamura is 8-2 now here at the Pro Tour. Kind of right where he belongs in the world, I guess. That's not an uncommon place to find the Hall of Famer from Japan. Lucas Blahan, 7-3 now. So again, each loss mattering big time here for these players with 2 losses, but still he can rest assured that he's still in contention, get himself together for one more round of draft, and then hit the constructed games running. We've got one more match still going in the feature match area. It looks like our undefeated player, Taejun Hao from Singapore, he's 9-0. He's playing against Nathan Eager, who's 8-1.
Yep, and this is the Hatchery Spider Mirror.
We did it, Eduardo. We finally got there. Oh, God. If we get to see 2 hatchery spiders just facing off against each other, neither having hit anything on their drives, I'm going to be so happy. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, but I think Tay's spider is infinitely better than Nathan's. It's something about 2 status statue giving Death Touch or killing the other spider that are good. But yeah, here, Tay using that Swarm Guild Mage to punch through a ton of damage. Well, or a ton being 6.
Yeah, that's a lot here, though, isn't it? Yeah, the Swarm Guild Mage's ability doesn't get activated too often, but when it does, it's usually very powerful because it means you're in a position to apply that much pressure to your opponent. And his creatures get +1/+0 and get menace until end of turn.
Yeah, but we see why that decision, rather than playing an uncurved 5-drop, say, Charl Troll, a very powerful card, but without a creature in the graveyard, not really going to do much. Could have played Burglar Rat, but that's a pretty weak turn. I like keeping the Burglar Rat plus Severed Strands combo. A great combo in this format, by the way. But I like keeping it for a little later. Looking at what Nathan Eager is working with, there's a lot more options. Joint Shields is is not only a card you see, but remember, if you've seen this featured draft, the cards were so weak that I totally understand Nathan's take on having a Joint Shields. Not only a card I like to play, but pretty good in matchups of this ilk and with a lower power level overall.
One other thing about Joint Shields, they never see it coming because nobody ever plays it. So if you get a chance to get somebody with Joint Shields, boy, I guarantee your opponent reads it, right? If you play a Joint Shields in a game of Magic, your opponent's going to go, what is that?
Yeah, that's all. When more than half the text is reminder text, that the card gets read every time. But yeah, here, it's just basically it's going to be a combat nightmare if Nathan goes something like Convoking a creature. But again, because these were feature drafts, both players having access to the deck list, Joint Shield's even weaker than it normally is. But
Well, and interestingly here, Brian David Marshall was down in the feature match area watching these two guys play last game, and he said Nathan outright stole game 2 off of the back of a joined shield. So Tae-Jun Hao will have read it then, and now is going to be very keenly aware of that possibility going forward.
yeah, and here, deciding to play the Charnel Troll, there's a choice to, with the Burglar Rat, the Severed Strand, that's one more creature. And I think Tay, understanding that Nathan has a ton of cards in hand, is going to be the aggressor here. Normally would be the control player that goes over the top, but with the way the draw has panned out and this board state, Tay is essentially going to be the aggressor. If Tay is the aggressor, then Nathan should stay back. I think that Dissidents, for example, attacking, it'd be a weird attack, I think, here to go with the Rock Charger and the Dissidents. You want to stay back. I think Nathan is the control player here, even though normally out of the two, the Golgari deck will be the one that has the better late game. In this exact position, I think Nathan is going to have to act as the kind of board-centric defensive player until such a point where Joint Shields would obliterate Tay and take over. So I think that's the plan that Nathan is looking at now. Looking at what Nathan has to work with, I can understand the wanting to attack. Bounty of Might, 9 mana, 9, it's basically 9 damage. And yeah, just passing the turn here, willing to activate that Dissident and also use that Joint Shields for the Charnel Troll. The Charnel Troll is actually a really weak card against a card like Joint Shields just because it prevents an attack, and the Charnel Troll has a limited lifespan. Actually, here, we're probably going to see that Joint Shields since it looks very likely that Tay is going to use that Severed Strand.
Severed Strands right away, yeah. The classic Burglar Rat Severed Strands. We call this deck the Rats and Cats deck, and Severed Strands actually shines quite nicely in that deck. It becomes a good removal spell, one that you actively want in your deck, because you end up with so many cards, so many expendable creatures floating around, and then as you see here, sometimes you even get paid for having them in your graveyard with cards like Charnel Troll or more commonly the Rhizome Lurcher.
Yeah, and here that Joint Shield's going to nicely counter the Severed Strands, stop the creatures from Tay to attack here. And it's going to be, and this is going to be a decent Joint Shields. At least one, one
You'll
for
get
one.
Card back off.
Yeah,
of it.
one for one, like Fog plus one for, trading for the Severed Strand plus preventing an attack. That's a good use for that card.
It's about the best case scenario, my friend.
No, the best case scenario was stealing the game off Joint Shields, remember?
You're right.
Yeah, and here, yep, the Joint Shields make sense. Preventing the strands, making an attack not really possible for Tay. Nathan eager, happy with a spell, happy with a land, a good position to be in limited.
Yeah. Block. I mean, the Charnel Troll does have trample, but there's 5 toughness that's all indestructible on the other side, so that attack just doesn't really ring out, does it?
No. I mean, you could do the attack, expect the Charnel Troll to go through, and Nathan to eat the Gorgon and just block the troll, but I don't. This is an interesting attack.
I mean, he does push through damage by doing so, but he's tossing it away.
Yeah, he's just looking at this is actually kind of nice. We can just look at the different options. Tay's doing all of them and decides, you know what, I really need to push damage.
Yeah, well, and besides pushing damage through, he will also further fill up his graveyard with creatures potentially here for his Charnel Troll to keep eating it. Now, this does end up making him kind of all in on the Charnel Troll plan, but hey, maybe that's just where he's at.
Yeah, and I think this is actually a really heads-up play by Tay. It may look bad, right? Like, you're like, why are you suiciding your creatures to in a position like this? But I think Tay understands, I have a lot of powerful top decks in my deck that involve creatures in the graveyard. I could get a status statue and push through a ton of damage. And this troll is going to have to be my path to victory, but this Hatchery Spider is all but awful news for Tay. Having used the Severed Strands, and...
Well, that being said, though, he's going to exile a creature on his upkeep. The troll's going to be a 6/6. If he draws a creature, he could pitch it, and all of a sudden the troll can rumble with the spider, at least on some level. The troll does get huge, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that is the thing. It is a bit of a liability and can be very difficult to manage, and sometimes it just goes away before it gets to do anything. but he could theoretically have that troll get into combat with the spider and win.
Yeah, and that's true. But then the problem is you get into double blocking situations. But the card Tay really wants here more than anything else is Status Statue.
Oh, totally.
But it seems like here drew a card that was very good against Jeremy Dezani earlier, but not so much in this situation here. Charnel Troll, unfortunately.
Well, this gets interesting to me, though. Like, he can play Ritual of Soot to clear away the two opposing creatures. Yes, he doesn't get to attack now, but he will also put the District Guide in his graveyard. He already has the Rat. Next turn, Charnel Troll is big enough, if it's by itself, to attack into the Hatchery Spider.
Unfortunately, I believe the Charnel Troll being a free drop would die to
I totally
Ritual
forgot.
here.
My God.
And that happened.
Oh, my God. Am I the only one that forgot? Maybe not. This does not look good for Taejun Hao. Now he's facing down a 5/7, and all of a sudden he needs his own Hatchery Spider. Oh, my God.
That was
Ritual of Soot was a disaster.
right, but Tay cast.
Right, but I mean, maybe he thought that he made the same mistake I did. I was thinking, well, hey, Charnel Troll's huge. It can only cost 3, right? It's 7/7. It's a 6/6. But boy, I was wrong about that. Unfortunately, for me, if I'm wrong, then chat gets to yell at me. If Tay's wrong, he loses his board.
Yeah, but this Golgari Findbroker is actually a really good pickup. I mean, there are some creatures in the graveyard. I think you decides though to get the rat rather than the troll. Still trying to fight that value game.
Is that Bounty of Might hitting the graveyard?
Yeah, I mean, when Bounty of Might goes to the graveyard in this game.
Oh, I'm not liking your chances.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And you can see why he had the affectionate Indrik to punch that Golgari Findbroker and clear the way once again for big attacks with that Spider. We knew that this was the Hatchery Spider mirror match, and when only one player's drawn one, it's good to go.
Yeah, and this has been a really brutal game, I think, for Tay. But,
yes,
this isn't just the Hatchery Spider. You know what else it is a mirror of?
What's that?
Bounty of Might.
Oh, they have all the same cards. Could Tay steal one here? Probably not, right? Nathan won't leave the door open for that kind of thing.
I mean, maybe he won't leave it open, but I mean,
because he can take it here.
Tay has a dead weight. If Nathan has exactly a small creature, and a Bounty of Might,
what? He could steal back.
There's unfortunately, Nathan has a Rosemane Center,
Oh.
and while Tay might have an answer to it, we might see Tay here use the Bounty of Might as kind of a. The problem is Tay just doesn't know Nathan's hand, so he's like, you know what, take it, hope for the best, hope it's a small creature, hope I can draw dead weight, or hope you don't have a creature, right? But unfortunately here, Rosemane Center, almost impossible to kill for a cheap mana cost, and yeah, that's.
Oh, that was so close. Way closer than it looks on the table. And now Tay just has to hope that Nathan says, sure, no blocks. What's the worst thing that could happen? And that is not what happened. Nathan Eager gets the job done. And boy, he is running it up. Nathan is 9-1.
Yeah, and I mean, Tay also 9-1, still excellent run for both players, in really good shape to make a deep run in this tournament.
Magic's hard, man.
Oh, yeah. I love the Hatchery Spider Bounty of Might mirror, though.
That is not, and again, I have to say, if I'm sitting in Tay's seat and my opponent has 2 cards left and I cast Burglar Rats and they're like, Bounty of Might, don't need that, I'm just like, oh my God.
This is not good.
This can never be good for me. That's one of the, and of course Nathan had tons of mana and plenty of wiggle room to actually cast that card. So putting it in the bin was certainly a big moment. But yeah, that one did not end up working well for Tay. Perhaps an oversight from him on the Ritual of Soot, basically just clearing away everything that he had and leaving behind a massive 5/7 Spider on the other side to make short work of his life total. And even though it actually ended up being a little closer because of that draw from Tay of hitting that Bounty, it was a more than 2 toughness or any type of creature really on the other side. And that ended up getting the job done. So that's 2 rounds done here in our booster draft. That leaves us with 1 more to go before we wrap up Limited for this Pro Tour and move back over to Standard, where we'll be hanging out for the rest of the day, getting up to the top 8, and then coming back tomorrow for the top 8 itself, which is, of course, also standard. Thanks so much for coming along. We appreciate you taking the time to hang out with Eduardo, me, and everybody here on coverage. We're going to take a short commercial break. When we come back, though, we'll be bringing you the third and final round of Limited here from Atlanta. Don't you go anywhere.
Welcome back to the news desk, Maria and Rich, and we've got a bunch of co-leaders in the tournament now, all sitting at 9-1. Brian David Marshall is eager to meet one of them.
Thanks, Maria. I am here with Dr. Eager, it turns out, which I'm going to steal as a Golden Age superhero name, just so you know. But Nathan Eager, you are 9-1 here in this tournament, and this is your first Pro Tour. What were your goals coming into this event?
So I think just making day two really was the aim coming out here. And then I had a good day one, so now it's kind of hopefully get to 11 wins, so I qualify for the next Pro Tour. And anything better than that, then it's pretty good.
Now, how did you qualify for this particular Pro Tour?
So I played the limited portion of GP Vegas this summer and came 9th there, and that qualified me for this.
So finished 9th, but you had a good enough record to have made the top 8.
Yeah, so I was a bit unlucky, I think, because I was 13-1 going into the last round, lost the last round, and missed out on tiebreakers at 13-2, which I don't think happens in too many GPs, but there we go.
All right, now you're coming to this event. You don't have a ton of time, and when I say Dr. Eager, you're a medical doctor.
Yeah. I work at a cardiology hospital in London, so full-time job.
So like playing Magic is what? Magic Online, drafting at the store once a week?
Yeah, so I usually try and go down every Wednesday to draft, and then at least one limited league every day on Magic Online I try and do. And then obviously I've had to add a bit of constructed in for this tournament as well.
All right, well, Nathan Eager, 9-1 here. I know everyone's going to be looking to replicate your success. They're going to be wondering what you had for breakfast each day. You know, this is the dream for a lot of people at home. Good luck the rest of the way, trying to get to those 11 wins and hopefully beyond that.
Who knows. Thanks very much.
Well, Christmas full go flips, Maria. That was a jolly spiffing interview, wasn't it? Think I can tick off Rich Sounds British on the bingo card?
Yep, marked it. All right, so we've got another co-leader standing by to tell us the story of how his draft went. He's with Paul Chian.